Last time I posted a video in 2021, I was in semester 7 of degree in architecture at UiTM Puncak Alam. So 4 years later, I am currently pursuing my Masters of Architecture study in Australia with a fully funded scholarship by Yayasan Khazanah under its Yayasan Khazanah Global Scholarship Program. I am making this video for the Malaysian who have a dream to study abroad. Some insights that you can learn from me following the unconventional path or maybe a slower path to get here, and maybe a lesson or two that you can learn along the way. Studying overseas has always been one of my dreams since I was in middle school. This came from my dad who has the chance to study abroad in the UK after his high school, as 30 years ago our government has a lot of capital and a lot of funding to support their students to study abroad. This also compounded with listening to my teachers and listening to my excellent seniors in high school who have the chance to study abroad. So looking back, my dream to study abroad has been more than 10 years since I was young. So the first question is, how do I actually get here? Let's go back in 2017 when I took my SPM examination. So for people who are watching from other countries, SPM is like our university's entrance exam for us to get into universities for our degrees or pre-universities program. As all SPM leavers at the time, I also tried to apply for scholarship to study overseas from popular scholarship providers at the time such as MARA, GPA, Bank Negara, Petronas, and also Yayasan Khazanah. I think the biggest pool of opportunity for Malaysian students to study overseas is through the SPM results, which also makes it highly competitive to get selected. You have to be excellent in your SPM, in your curriculum, in your pre-SPM test and overalls. Another hurdle that SPM leavers will also face is choosing which course to study in, or what career path are we going to choose. I think this is a very common struggle for SPM leavers, and those also includes me. I think during SPM preparation, we put a lot of effort on the exam itself, which lasts for 1 year, but not really on our plans for our future careers, which are going to last for a very long time. Like most of you, I am also unsure what course to take. I did consider on taking a generic pre-university program under science subjects since I took biology during SPM. But before filling up my UPU application, I saw an advertisement for a career or university festival in Johor Bahru. So I decided to go there first with my father before filling up my UPU application. For those who are unfamiliar, a career fair is when a university or a representative from any field open up a booth on the course that they offer. I, as a visitor, can ask questions and details that I would like to know about the course. The question can range from how long the program is, where is the university, and for professional course, as the course itself is accredited by the Boards of Malaysia. If you are lucky to meet the teaching lecturer, you can also ask about the course workload, how is the lifestyle, what are the tips to excel in the course that you are selecting. So one thing that I highly recommend for future SPM graduates is please go and engage with program like this before filling up your UPU application. Again, it may look simple in the beginning, but following the Malaysian education system, you are going to spend at least 5 or 6 years in university studying something that you might actually not know you love or not. So through this career festival, I can see a lot of universities offering different programs such as language, accounting, Islamic studies, and law and more. But one thing that captured my eyes is architecture. It caught my eyes because there is a design aspect for it, and looking back throughout my high school experience, I found that I have a high interest in anything that requires designing, creating something from scratch, putting a lot of effort in handy woodworking projects for kemahiran hidup, and solving problems for my extracurricular program. So, analyzing all of the factors that attract my interest, at the time I just decided, architecture is not bad, and voiced my interest to my dad. Bear in mind, at the time I am not aware of the courses such as animation, graphic design, fashion design, product design in Malaysia. So I didn't know that I can actually take courses like that. I remember watching my dad asking the booth manager about the details, how long is the study, and which university is actually good for studying architecture. Because we didn't have any architects in our close extended family, my parents called around family friends who are actually in the architecture field. to ask for university recommendation. And the name that came up is Bachelor of Science Architecture at UiTM Puncak Alam. So although there is a lot of other public universities offering architecture in Malaysia, UiTM stuck out to me because it's the only universities that allow direct intake from SPM to a degree program for 4 years. In other universities, you will have to first enroll to 2 years of diploma in architecture and then apply again to enroll in a degree of architecture. So your study time will be 5 years compared to 2 years if you didn't spend time working in between diploma and degree. So applying to UiTM is a good option for me as it shortens my study time by 1 year and I didn't have to go second round of application, which will further extend my study time. Of course, getting into this program at UiTM is highly competitive. I did put my preference for UiTM as my number one choice and other architecture program from other universities around Malaysia. While waiting for the UP results, I am still hopeful that I get at least one offer from any scholarship providers as my dream to study abroad is still so strong. At the time, I am willing to take any course that is handed to me as long as I get the chance to study overseas. So a huge note to all of the students watching, this is a harsh truth. In the recent year, architecture is not a very commonly sponsored subject to study overseas for both undergraduate and postgraduate level. This is due to the availability of architecture universities in Malaysia already. So there are multiple options for students to actually pursue their studies in Malaysia rather than abroad. Currently, it's not a highly demanded skills in Malaysia itself. So of course, there will be other courses that is highly in demand compared to architecture like IT, AI technology, computer science, finance, or other STEM subject that has a higher chance if you want to study overseas. So just some truth telling whether you want to pursue your passion in architecture or pursue your interest to have experience studying abroad. Coming back to my scholarship application, with quite an average result of 9 A's and 2 B's, not 9 A+, I did not receive any scholarship offers and have to go through with my UPU application. Long story short, I did get an interview for UiTM. Alhamdulillah, out of the hundreds of application and get through the application process. I think the story for the interview is for another day and another video. However, remember when I said my dream is to study overseas? Although I get the placement offer at UiTM, I remembered crying a lot as I felt that my only chance to study abroad has gone down the drain. However, one slither of hope still shined upon me because for architecture field specifically, to become a registered architect where you have AR title in front of your name, you need to have a Part 1 and Part 2 qualification, which come in a degree and master certificate. After having those two qualification, then you can finally put in your 2 years of logbook and also sit for your professional examination. This means that for me, I have one last chance to study abroad, which is through my master's education. So I searched around for any opportunities to study architecture abroad for masters, and one that popped out to me is GREP program by MARA. GREP is short for Graduate Excellence Program. It is a convertible loan that funds you to study overseas. It's not a full scholarship. The amount that we have to pay back depends on your result for your studies. So if at the end overall you get a first class, you only have to pay 20% back with no interest. So not a bad deal for the experience and the funding that you receive. Knowing all of this information at the age of 18, I knew from the back of my head that I really need to focus and lock in. So I cannot rely anymore on average results. I have to work as hard as possible to qualify for the scholarship. One good news is I actually start to enjoy my life as architecture students, finishing up each semester's project, and also enjoy my learning process at UiTM. I guess that is one of the perks of choosing a course that utilize a lot of your strengths compared to if I have to grind myself and push myself on a memorization or mathematic based course. That will be totally different. And yes, of course, there is a lot of up and downs as architecture students, a lot of struggles along the way. But at the end, I did make a lot of lifelong friends and experience along the way. After 4 years, in 2022, I graduated graduated with a first class degree, so 3.92 out of 4.0 CGPA. I did a few extra co-curricular activities. I did join a few architecture competition and did my internships and start preparing for my master's application after graduating. Everything sounds like it's on track, right? My plan is to work 1 year after graduating and pursue my master's in 2033. So I have exactly 1 year to do all of the application process. This all range from applying to universities, pass my IELTS exam, get recommendation letter, and prepare for when the scholarship application actually opens, because those usually take quite some time. In 2023, I've applied to 14 universities in the UK, Australia, Netherlands, and Germany, and received 11 universities offer overall. And the last step is, of course, funding. Here is when fate took you for a while, right? Remember when I told you that GREP's requirement is not as strict? For many years, I kept track of the scholarship and maintains that way. Get a first class degree, have minimum 6 months of working experience, and also make sure that your University of Choice is top 20 in the world until 2023 hits. Out of nowhere, the scholarship opened super late that year. It's mid 2023, and also in everyone's surprise, architecture course is not on the list. They did not find a Master of Architecture program that year, and I was devastated. Here is why this is such a big deal for architecture students. Aside from GREP, there is almost no other scholarship that funds architecture studies on postgraduate levels. So this scholarship is my one chance that I have been preparing for 5 years to get everything right, to qualify as best as I could. I did make countless appeals, sent in my application, and sent countless emails and hard copy application calling the PIC that managed GREP scholarship. But the answer is all the same. We will only sponsor the courses that is on the list this year. The aftermath was super devastating. The denial, disappointment, and thinking back of all the sacrifice for the past 5 years to get to this point. After confirming the fact that pursuing my master's in 2023 is out of reach, I decided to take a break, or we call it a gap year, for 1 year to recover compared to just pursuing my master's in local universities. I wanted to find myself and my self-worth aside from just being an architecture student and widen my world a bit. And I also think that at the time, with my emotional turmoil, pursuing masters at local universities with resentment is not a good step moving forward. Making this decision is super difficult for me at the time because in my mind, I have a set timeline that I have to start my master's by 23. So by the time I graduated, I will be still in my mid-20s and I have time to build up my careers for 5 years before reaching 30s. It was a difficult but necessary decision to do. So in between 2023 to 2024, I find a new job still in architecture field. Fortunately, I worked as assistant architect and start exploring my alternatives for international scholarship and more options that I have. So what changed between 2023 to 2024? First and foremost, I stopped putting all of my eggs in one basket. I used to have a very niche and specific goals to focus on at all times because I thought that is what have helped me to earn my first class, get my straight A's, and achieve what I have achieved for now. For a change, I started to think of backup plans, alternative route for my yearly plans and goals. So if things out of my control did not work out, it will not hurt me as bad as it did in 2023. The second thing is I learned to diversify my identity aside from just being architecture students. So who am I in the eyes of me, myself, in the eyes of my parents, my friend, and my community? This one is super important for me so that if one of my identity falls apart, for example, my identity as architecture students, I still have other sense of self in other categories to support me in tough times. And thirdly is I actually have time to think about my career and professional goals. Believe it or not, 1 year is super short. So the 12th month after graduating, my mind is constantly on what university I want to apply on, the requirements, the interview, the examination to pass. I didn't really focus on what I actually want in my career on the long term. Once I put aside my study for a while, I get to be in the moment working in architecture firms, and progress my skill and reliability, and I start to enjoy my time outside of study more and more. In 2024, I'll be honest, 80% of me have totally given up on the idea of pursuing my master's overseas because it seems like a pipe dream at that moment. I did look around for alternative for international scholarship for postgraduate students, but a lot of the course structures and certificate is out of my interest, or I am not sure how those certificates will help me to improve and progress me in my careers. I was also super close and pursuing my master's part-time, so working while studying, as at the time I start to realize the importance of progressing my careers forward. So why not just do both? But in March of 2024, in Ramadan, the advertisement for a postgraduate scholarship came through by none other than Yayasan Khazanah himself. This time, it is a fully funded bonded scholarship program, and surprisingly, architecture is one of the courses that they offer. I could not believe my eyes at the time when I see it. As you have known before, I did apply for Yayasan Khazanah once before, but did not even pass the assessment, not even for stage 1, and the selection process is also super intense. In previous year, there's more than 1000% applying for the scholarship, but only 30% get the scholarship at the end. But at the time, I also have nothing left to lose. Like, hey, the probability of getting this scholarship is slim, but I'm already at rock bottom, so how bad can it be, right? So I submitted my application. Then I went through 2.5 months of long and stressful selection process. And believe it or not, in May of 2024, I received an offer for the scholarship program under Yayasan Khazanah Global Scholarship Program for postgraduate level. And a short 1.5 months later, I commenced my study for Master of Architecture at University of Melbourne, Australia on 21st of July 2024. As for now, I have completed my first semesters and currently on my summer break for 2025, and I still have 1.5 years left of my studies. Overall, it took me almost 10 years dreaming and praying for the chance to study overseas, and finally, after a lot of up and downs, it finally happens. When I first arrived in Australia that night, I still could not believe that what I'm experiencing is the reality. I am making this video to share my journey and process as a Malaysian student trying to find funding to study abroad in architecture field specifically. I understand how difficult it is to earn a scholarship to study overseas in this current economy and landscape. It is not easy, but I hope that this video can motivate you not to give up and try again next year. If your 2024 application is not successful, it's okay. I have also been there. Prepare and brace yourself to try again next time. This is also for the fresh graduate who feel like they are left behind. When I choose to take a gap year, I am super afraid that I will be behind from my peers and friends. But choosing a journey that feels right to your height sometimes is more important in the long. Of course, I'm looking forward to making more videos in the future, especially on my experience passing the Yayasan Khazanah scholarship assessment process. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Finally, this is my second time recording this video and first time recording in public. There's multiple challenges and people walking behind me. But I guess, yeah, that's a good way to start 2025. I hope I can be more consistent in the future. Thank you.